Have you ever heard of widow's brain? Welcome to my channel. This is Kathleen, a widow learning how to live again after losing my husband. And today I want to tell you a story that brings widow's brain to life. Susan, a recent widow who lost her husband 3 months ago, went to the grocery store to buy some items. After paying for her purchase, she wheeled her cart into the parking lot and suddenly realized she forgot where she parked her car. She stopped walking and began searching her pockets and her purse for her keys, thinking she could press the key fob to make her car beep so she could locate it. But she couldn't find her keys either. The sun beat down on her as she frantically began walking up and down the rows of cars, looking for her silver Mazda, but there were so many silver cars. It seemed as though every other car was silver. She could feel her fear rising. Then she heard footsteps behind her getting closer and panic set in. She stopped and turned to face whoever was approaching her and was relieved to see a store employee. He smiled slightly and said, "Can I help you, ma'am?" Fighting back tears, Susan explained that she couldn't find her car. The employee gave her a reassuring look and walked with her until they found her Mazda. Susan thanked him, then said, "But I still don't know where my car keys are." The man looked at her, puzzled for a moment, then gently smiled and said, "Aren't those your keys?" pointing to her right hand clenched tightly around her keychain. Susan felt a mix of relief and embarrassment. She had been holding her keys the entire time. If you've ever experienced something like this after losing your husband, you're not alone. Many widows, myself included, experience what's commonly called widow's brain. It can be frightening, but it doesn't mean you are losing your mind. After losing my husband, I noticed changes in my memory, my ability to focus, and my ability to handle things that used to feel simple. And honestly, it scared me. One reason is because my mother had dementia and I thought I might be headed down the same path. I remember thinking, what is happening to me? But once I learned more about how grief affects the brain, I realized I wasn't getting a disease. The truth is, our brains have to learn how to exist in a new reality without our husbands, and that takes time. Today, I want to share what I've learned about widow's brain, also referred to as grief brain, why it happens, and some things that may help you feel more like yourself again. So, what is widow's brain exactly, and why does this happen to us? Well, widow's brain is not an official medical diagnosis. It's a term often used to describe the mental fog, forgetfulness, and difficulty concentrating that can happen after losing a spouse. And it can show up in many different ways. You may forget why you walked into a room, lose your train of thought while speaking, struggle to remember names or appointments, feel overwhelmed making decisions, forget things you normally wouldn't forget. You may have trouble doing multiple tasks or simple tasks, and you may feel like your brain is just not working the way it used to. For many women over age 60, these changes can feel especially frightening because we may immediately wonder, is this grief? Is this aging? Or is this something else? Those are very understandable concerns. And while grief can absolutely affect memory and concentration, it's also important to talk with your healthcare provider if you have symptoms that concern you, especially if they are worsening or interfering with daily life. So why does this happen to us? Why does grief affect our brains? The simple answer is because losing a spouse is not just emotional pain. It is a massive life disruption. You didn't just lose a person. You lost your routine. You lost the person you talk to every day. You lost the person who helped you make decisions.
and you lost the future you thought you were going to have. In the book called The Grieving Brain by Dr. Mary Frances O'Connor, she explains why our brains struggle with memory and other common tasks when we are deeply grieving the loss of a loved one. Dr. O'Connor explains how human brains function like a live map, and we know where our loved ones are located while they are still alive and involved in our everyday lives. The mapping allows us to know how to connect with them, what to expect from them, and it's part of our brain's social and attachment system. But when our loved one dies, our brains become conflicted, struggling with the new reality of our loved one's absence. We miss them and yearn for them, and our brains struggle to update the map when our loved one is no longer where they used to be. When we experience intense grief and stress, our bodies go into a state of high alert.
Our brains are flooded with stress hormones, and stress can affect things like concentration, sleep, energy, and our ability to process information. And many widows are dealing with multiple challenges at the same time. Maybe you aren't sleeping well. Maybe you aren't eating properly. Maybe you're trying to handle paperwork, finances, household responsibilities, and decisions you never expected to make alone. Your brain is carrying an enormous amount. Sometimes it's not that your memory is broken. Sometimes your brain is simply overloaded.
I also experienced widow's brain during the first year after my loss. Shortly after Dave passed and I was sorting through things, deciding what to keep and what to donate, I found it difficult to make decisions. It was almost painful for me to focus. Then I was researching some information online one day, and I found that I couldn't absorb anything I was reading. I felt so frustrated. I just couldn't think clearly. And I started misplacing things like my driver's license, my car keys, my phone, and other things. I just felt like I wasn't myself anymore. Things that used to be easy suddenly felt overwhelming.
And I would struggle to function throughout the day. I wondered what is going on with me and why my brain wouldn't cooperate. But by reading about the effects of grief brain and speaking with a grief therapist, I learned to be patient and to give myself grace.
So, what are some of the things we can do to help ease the symptoms of widow's brain? Well, number one is to prioritize sleep. And I know it can be difficult to sleep when we lose our partner, but sleep is one of the most important things we can do for our brain. And unfortunately, sleep is often one of the first things grief disrupts. You may have trouble falling asleep, or you may wake up during the night. You may wake up very early and find your mind racing. Poor sleep can make memory and concentration even worse. So some things that may help include
keeping a consistent sleep schedule, creating a calming bedtime routine. Things like drinking warm herbal tea, listening to music, or journaling can help. Also, limiting caffeine later in the day can help you relax more at bedtime. And please be sure to talk with your healthcare provider if insomnia continues. Sleep is not a luxury, and it's a huge part of healing.
So be patient and gentle with yourself, and please let your doctor know if you aren't seeing gradual improvement in your sleep, which can take a while.
Another important thing is to move your body. Movement is powerful for both your body and your brain. You don't need to run a marathon. You can just simply walk. Even gentle stretching and gentle movement like Tai Chi or chair exercises can help. And if you have the ability, try some strength training with light weights if your doctor says it's okay. All of these can support your physical and emotional health. And when you're grieving, caring for your body can greatly assist in your overall healing. The third thing you can do to help your healing and your brain is to eat well. After my husband died, eating was difficult. Many widows experience changes in appetite. Some don't feel hungry. Some eat foods that are quick and convenient because cooking for one feels overwhelming. Or maybe you just eat comfort food, which isn't necessarily healthy food. But your brain needs fuel. Try to focus on simple things: protein, fruits and vegetables, healthy fats, drink enough water. Using a food delivery service with healthy meal options can also be a good idea. That's what I did for the first several months because shopping and cooking for myself was too painful and overwhelming.
Another important thing to do to care for yourself is to stay connected. Grief can make us want to withdraw, and sometimes we need alone time. But complete isolation can make everything feel heavier. Connection matters. So connecting with a friend, a support group, a church group, volunteering, taking a class, or even an online community where you can talk to others can be nurturing and healing. You don't have to go through this alone. I attended an online grief support group immediately after my husband passed, as well as grief counseling, and it really helped me to not feel so lost and alone.
Finally, remember to be patient and kind with yourself. This may be the most important thing you can do. You are learning how to live in a world that changed overnight. You are not the same person you were before your loss, and that is okay. Healing does not mean forgetting your spouse. It means learning how to carry your love for them while slowly rebuilding your own life. Give yourself permission to have slower days. Give yourself permission to make mistakes, to forget things, to take more time to rest. Give yourself permission to be human. You have suffered a tremendous loss, so remember to nurture yourself as you grieve and heal one day at a time. Although widow's brain is common, it's always okay to ask questions. Talk with your healthcare provider if your memory problems are getting worse, you're getting lost in familiar places, you are forgetting what items are used for, you're having difficulty managing daily activities, long term, or if something just doesn't feel right. Your doctor can help determine whether grief is the likely cause or whether something else should be evaluated. In closing, if you are experiencing widow's brain, I hope this video helped you understand why you're experiencing these changes and to know that you are not alone. The next time you forget where you put your keys or walk into a room and forget why you're there, try to remember your brain has been through something enormous and it's trying to adapt. So be patient with yourself, be gentle with yourself, and remember you are not broken, you are grieving. If you are comfortable sharing, I would love to hear from you in the comments. Have you experienced widow's brain? And what is one change you noticed after losing your spouse? And if you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing. This channel is dedicated to helping widows over 60 find stability, community, and purpose after loss. And before you go, don't forget to download your free copy of 20 Simple Tips to help you navigate grief. You'll find the link in the description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.